This is Fair Issues on the Mormon Faircast. This week's article is entitled, Analyzing the Best Historical Book of Mormon Evidence by Michael R. Ash, read by Stephen Densley Jr. This and other articles by Michael Ash can be found at DeseretNews.com. This article is used by permission of the author and the Deseret News. Before I continue my analysis of the Book of Mormon in light of the overall discussion of facing anti-LDS accusations, I'd like to clarify a few things. I'm a student of existing scholarship, and typically, the thoughts in these articles are not uniquely my own. I try to utilize and summarize some of the research done by greater minds than my own. Due to space limitations, I can't always include every source. Interested parties can consult my books or various websites, including fairlds.org, for articles of greater depth. Some readers have thought me presumptuous, since I'm not a general authority, to suggest expanding one's worldview. It's important to note, however, that most of my topics are historical, cultural, or scientific in nature. They are not doctrinal. They have no real bearing on spiritual truths. In the absence of revelation, all of us, including general authorities, come to conclusions based on evidence and analysis. Because these issues are non-doctrinal, there will be differences of opinions. Joseph Smith consistently claimed that the Book of Mormon was translated by the gift and power of God. Once he was asked to share the details about the translation process. He declined, saying, "It was not intended to tell the world all the particulars of the coming forth of the Book of Mormon." What little information we have comes from those who either witnessed Joseph translating the record, or those who were close to Joseph and had heard information about the translation process. Here is what the best historical evidence tells us. There were real plates. The plates were written in a shorthand script and unknown language referred to as Reformed Egyptian. Joseph used interpreters or tools with which to translate. Several people saw him engaged in translating. The translation was dictated to a scribe as it was being translated. Joseph saw words in these interpreters. When Oliver Cowdery attempted to translate the plates, he was told that he failed because he didn't study it out in his mind before asking God if it was correct. The translation was recorded in King James English and vernacular of Joseph's day. I'll deal with each of these 8 issues in this and succeeding installments. First, there were real plates. In addition to Joseph Smith, 11 honest men saw the Book of Mormon plates. While the 3 witnesses saw the plates and an angel heard the voice of God, the 8 witnesses saw and handled the plates as matter-of-factly as if he were being shown a farm tool. Several other witnesses held, hefted, or felt the plates while they remained covered. Joseph's brother William, for example, said that he had handled and hefted the plates while they were wrapped in an article of clothing, and that they weighed about 60 pounds. The cloth was thin enough that he and Joseph's sister Catherine, his mother Lucy, and Joseph's wife Emma could feel the individual plates. William and Lucy said they could tell that the plates were fastened together by a set of rings. Lucy even handled the breastplate in Urim and Thummim through a thin cloth. Their combined testimony is so powerful that critics have been forced to fabricate theories to explain away the evidence. Some have suggested that Joseph made plates out of tin or lead and kept them covered so no one would know they weren't really golden. Since the witnesses were men who worked daily with farm tools, tin, and lead, and would have been able to recognize an obviously clumsy forgery, the critics are forced to theorize that the witnesses merely imagined that they had handled uncovered golden plates, and that tin or lead plates were used as a prop that the witnesses handled while covered. But is such an ad hoc proposition really tenable? This theory demands that the nearly impoverished Smiths had enough money to buy a sizable quantity of tin, and that Joseph had somehow learned, between cutting trees, selling baked goods, and struggling to put food on the table, how to become a tinsmith who could create plates, a breastplate, and a Urim and Thummim. The critics' theory would also ignore the several witness interviews that confirm that they handled real plates in their own hands, and it would make liars of the witnesses who testified, even under threat of death, that they had really seen the Book of Mormon plates. While the critics don't like the evidence and would rather see it swept under the rug, the fact is that the evidence of real plates sides with Joseph Smith. We'll tackle the Reformed Egyptian issue next time. If you like this podcast, you can help promote it by subscribing to it in iTunes and by rating it and writing a review. Post a link on your blog and Facebook page and tell your friends about us. Questions or comments about this episode can be sent to podcast@fairlds.org or join the conversation at fairblog.org. Michael R. Ash is the author of the book Shaken Faith Syndrome, Strengthening One's Testimony in the Face of Criticism and Doubt, as well as the book Of Faith and Reason, 80 Evidences Supporting the Prophet Joseph Smith. Both books are available for purchase online through the FAIR Bookstore. Music for this episode was provided courtesy of Lawrence Green. The opinions expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the views of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or of FAIR.